Hey people, what's up? Hart here. Welcome to the last video of 2023. So I want to go out with a bang and I wanted to really push myself, and I am making a completely new genre that I had never even heard until a couple days ago. And it was actually one of you lovely subscribers out there that suggested I try future garage. I'm not British, so it sounds weird either way I say it, but regardless, this is an amazing genre and I absolutely love it, and it was fun as making it. So I'm going to be doing more of these in the future for sure. So again, I'm only using Ableton stock effects and instruments since you people seem to like that so much. And yeah, let's hop in. Okay, BPM for this one is going to be 128. Sounds good. And I'm going to start with some ambience. So I'm going to create kind of an ethereal sounding pad with Wavetable. So first oscillator, I'm going to drag up so it's between that sine and a triangle. Second oscillator is going to be between a triangle and a saw. I'm just going to drag the volume down a little bit. And next I'm going to come over to the filter and drag this back a little bit, change it from 12 to 24 so it's cutting off a few more frequencies there. I'm going to change the filter type, add some resonance, and some drive, and then I'm going to come shape this amplitude envelope so it's more like a pad. So we're doing a slow attack, long sustain, and release as well. And now I'm going to come to envelope 2 and just kind of shape this so it's going to open the filter and kind of bring it back every time we start a new chord. So I'm going to click on frequency and go to that box that says envelope 2 and just kind of put this into where I want it to be and take that down just a little bit. Okay, that sounds pretty good. And then I want to add some unison as well. So I'm going to use shimmer this time. Take the voices up to 5 and bring the amount down just a tad. And that sounds pretty good to start making some chords. Okay, so I'm going to be a G minor for this one. So I'm going to do the 1 chord. So a G minor 7. And then this is going to be kind of a darker track. So I want kind of this descending chord progression. So I'm going to have it come down to the E flat major. That's not an E flat major. Let me fix that. I'll take that one up. And then that 7th needs to come up too. Okay. And then I'm going to add some bass notes down here as well to make these a little bit more full. So I think keeping the G for both of these will sound nice. And then I'm going to take that E flat major and copy that over one more time and take it down to the D. And as it is, let's see, that's like a D7. So do I want to take that down? I think I'm actually going to push this up to the 4th. So this is going to be a suspended 4th. And basically a suspension means you're taking the 3rd of the chord and moving it either up to the 4th or down to the 2nd, which is a sus2. Okay, that sounds nice. And then I think for the last chord, I'm going to copy that E flat back again. Yeah, let's make that a sus2. There, and let's bring this up just to make it a little different. Cool, I think that sounds good. And I've just popped an EQ and a reverb on this track, and there's just like one resonance that I'm hearing here in the middle. So I'm just going to bring this up, and I think it's about right here. That's that one. So I'm just going to take that down and just kind of damp those frequencies a little bit so it's not as loud. All right, next I'm going to show you a cool trick of how you can turn kind of like a foley loop into this really nice ambient pad. So I have this loop of a cricket chirping, and on this track I have an echo and a reverb. So let me turn the reverb off for a second. So basically what I want to do with the echo is I'm going to feed back these echoes into themselves along with the reverb, kind of like I did in my last track, until it starts to create an audible tone. And like I also said in my last video, is be very careful with this because you can get deafening levels very quickly with this feedback. So I'm just going to very slowly start to increase these numbers, and you're going to start to hear that feedback creeping in. There it is, just a little bit. And I'm going to start dialing this back just a little bit. Be very, very careful here. Okay, let me turn this reverb on, and we're going to put this at 100% wet. And now I want to add another audio track and arm it, and I'm going to set it to resampling, so it's going to resample the audio from that cricket chirping. So now that it's recorded, I want to come down here to the warp options. I'm going to change it to texture, and I need to get it in key with my song. So -4 sounds about right. And this texture option allows you to change the grain size, so you can make it sound a little more granular and just kind of glitchy. And the last thing to finish off the textures, I just found this kind of gusting wind. Just going to keep it really low in the background with some heavy compression, because you can see from the waveform that it's got some pretty large dynamics. So this is a pretty good bed to lay some drums on. Okay, so while I was making the drums, I decided to drop the tempo down to 124, but this is basically the gist of the drums I came up with. So I have this kick, this kind of rim shot, and you'll notice this is playing on the 2, and I think like the and of the 3, so it's not the 2 and the 4. And then I have this second rim shot, kind of every like 4th hit here, just to layer it. And then I have this hat down here, just to add a little bit of rhythm. And the last thing I want to do is, in a lot of future garage tracks that I've heard, you hear like these knives in the background, and I think it sounds really cool. And I can't find any good samples on Splice, so I'm going to go grab my most threatening butter knives and sample them, and we're going to make some hi-hats out of them. All right, this is cool. I'm basically just going to go through and like cut all of these out into separate samples, clean them up a little bit, and then I'm going to toss them in a drum rack. Okay, so I picked my 4 favorites and I just tossed them into a drum rack here. Okay, now what I want to do is just come in here to this MIDI clip, and I'm just going to kind of randomly, I can't even, I'm making a pattern. I can't even do this randomly like this. But either way, it's still going to sound cool. So I'm just picking different ones every time. That's really cool. Okay, let's just turn the volume down though. All right, I'm just going to duplicate this across the whole way. I am going to use one of these grooves from the groove pool just to give it a little bit of swing. So I'll just set that in there. That sounds really badass. And then I'm just going to come back in here and just kind of pan these a little bit just to give them a little bit of stereo width. Super easy to do this in a drum rack. So for processing on those, I just have some EQ, a compressor, and a sidechain compressor with the kick ducking it. And that reminds me that I need to put that sidechain compressor on the atmosphere group too. So I'm going to copy that compressor. I'm going to group all of these and then just drop that compressor on the group. Okay, the next thing that like every future garage track has is a sick Reese bass. And I'm sure everybody knows how to make a Reese bass. And if you don't, it's basically just 2 saw waves that you detune a little bit. And you can make this super easy in Operator. This is one that I made previously, but I'll just show you quickly. So basically this first oscillator, we have a saw D, I have it set at. And the second oscillator is also set at a saw D. And an important thing here, whenever you open Operator, it's always going to be in FM mode, which means all of these are going to be modulating the other. And you want to change it to this one where it's 4 horizontally. And that just means now you have a 4 oscillator synth and they're not modulating each other. So just by itself, if we have this Reese bass, that detuning there, this fine control is what's going to give you that wobble. So I feel about 25 is good. And the other main thing you want to do is come in here to the kind of global section, make sure voices is set to 1. And then in here, turn on the glide and you can change the time somewhere between like 120, 150-ish. And that's going to give you those nice slides that you hear happening when you change notes. And processing on this is what makes it special. So I'm using Saturator with the Wave Shaper. And basically Wave Shaper, you can open up this little triangle here and you have all of these options to basically create your own wave. And you can get some really nice saturation. So I have that, just a bit of glue compression, and of course you need an EQ to cut out any of the higher frequencies. And the last thing to complete this loop before I start arranging is finding a vocal. So I just found this vocal on Splice. Really nice kind of ambient choir. And I just changed it so it was in key with the rest of my song. So I'll go ahead and arrange this and play through the final beat with you guys. All right, so I went a little nuts arranging this one, and I actually full on like went in, did all this automation, all this stuff. And I'm not going to go through everything, but I'll show you just the main things I added. So I added this kind of ambient piano, and I'm just really spacing that out with the hybrid reverb. And then I added just a sub bass to go along with that Reese bass. So this is basically just, you're probably not even going to be able to hear that, just a straight sine wave. And then a couple transition effects. So these ones I got off of Splice, and this one I actually made with the operator, just like a little submarine boop. And yeah, there's a lot of automation in here as well, with auto filters coming on and off and sweeping things. And yeah, it gets a little crazy. I can do a video on more like arrangement and automation stuff if you'd like, let me know. But for now, I'm going to end this one, and I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. If you did, please remember to like, subscribe if you'd like to see future videos, and I hope you have a safe and wonderful new year, and I will see you next year. Take care.